Welcome back, deep divers. If you're anything like me, you love knowledge, but hate the endless scroll. Am I right?
Absolutely.
So today we're going to hit a deep dive into something everyone's seen a picture of. Pyramids. But get ready for a twist.
Oh yeah, this goes way beyond Egypt. We've been digging through the Wikipedia entry on pyramid, and let me tell you, it's a global phenomenon.
To kick things off, what is a pyramid, technically speaking?
At its core, it's a structure with triangular faces that meet at a point, sitting on a base that can be a polygon. Think squares, triangles, you name it.
So simple, yet it stood the test of time.
Yeah.
And speaking of time, there's something brilliant about that design, isn't there?
You're talking about the weight distribution. Having most of the mass at the bottom and tapering upwards made these things super stable. It was like an ancient skyscraper hack.
Ingenious. Right. And the crazy part is, this pyramid shape pops up all over the world, in all sorts of cultures.
Totally. It's not just an Egyptian thing. Today, we're going beyond the Giza staples.
We're going full-on global pyramid expedition, uncovering the crazy diversity of pyramid structures and the folks who built them. Think of this as your pyramid cheat sheet.
Love that.
So where do we even begin this pyramid world tour?
Chronologically speaking, let's hop over to Mesopotamia.
Mesopotamia, so we're talking ziggurats, right?
You got it. They're considered some of the earliest pyramid-like structures out there.
Now these ziggurats, they're kind of different than those smooth, sleek Egyptian ones.
Oh, yeah, completely.
They were built with sun-dried mud brick, and believe it or not, were once super colorful. Think vibrant, maybe even gold or bronze accents. Sadly, not much of that original pizzazz remains.
Yeah, mud brick and time, not the best combo.
But these ziggurats weren't just pretty to look at. They were the heart and soul of temple complexes for some serious ancient empires.
Exactly. We're talking to Sumerians, Babylonians, Elamites, Akkadians, you name it. It's like a who's who of ancient empires. And you know what's interesting is they actually evolved from super basic elevated platforms way back in the 4th millennium BC, the Ubaid period. Like imagine simple raised platforms maybe for rituals. And bam, over time they morphed into those epic tiered ziggurats.
Wow, so picture this. You're in ancient Mesopotamia. What were these ziggurats used for?
Religion. They were at the center of it all.
Okay, so spill the construction secrets. How did they make these things?
Imagine this, a core of sun-baked brick. But here's the cool part, they'd cover it with these fired bricks. And these outer bricks, forget plain, they were often glazed in a rainbow of colors, maybe linked to astrology, and sometimes even slapped on royal inscriptions, king-approved graffiti.
Astrobricks and kingly tags? That's way more complex than I ever pictured. How many tiers are we talking about on these ziggurats?
Sources say they had anywhere between 2 and 7 tiers. Now, the real head-scratcher is what was on top. It's widely believed they had shrines up there. But, get this, there's not a ton of archaeological proof.
Really? So we're just guessing.
Well, there is a written account from Herodotus, the ancient Greek history buff, but that's about it.
So grand staircases leading to, who knows? Okay, how did people actually get up these things?
They had ramps, usually on one side, or sometimes even a spiral ramp winding all the way up. Imagine that climb.
All right, deep divers, time for a continent hop. Let's talk Egypt. When someone says pyramid, you automatically think Egypt, right?
It's like the pyramid poster child.
And our research backs it up. These were huge structures built with bricks, or more often stones. Limestone was the go-to, and we're talking some of the most massive buildings ever created.
And that iconic shape wasn't just for looks,
What do you mean?
It was deeply symbolic, tied to the sun's rays. Originally, Egyptian pyramids were covered in this smooth, white limestone.
Oh yeah, I've seen pictures of that.
Just imagine how it would have reflected the sunlight. Sadly, most of those outer stones are gone, some even repurposed in building Cairo.
Talk about recycling on a grand scale. But what about the very top? That special stone, the capstone.
Ah, the pyramidion.
What was it made of?
Usually limestone, granite, or basalt. But get this, some were plated with electrum. It's a natural gold and silver alloy. Can you picture how that must have glinted in the sun?
Oh, wow. Super fancy. Okay, what's the timeline on these Egyptian pyramids? When were they built?
Our sources say they were built roughly between 2700 BC and 1700 BC. And the very first one, the OG pyramid, was Pharaoh Djoser's Step Pyramid.
The Step Pyramid. That one is so cool.
It was a game changer, designed by the brilliant Imhotep in the 3rd dynasty. Imagine 6 mastabas, those earlier rectangular tubes, stacked up.
Imhotep, what a legend. And do things just keep evolving from there?
They did. You had pharaohs like Snefru refining the design, which eventually led to the pyramid building frenzy at Giza between 2575 BC and 2150 BC.
Pyramid mania, but I remember reading that they didn't build royal pyramids forever, right?
True. Mosai was the last pharaoh to go the pyramid route. Later on, they switched to hiding tombs in places like the Valley of the Kings. You also had smaller pyramids for regular folks, and the Nubian rulers who controlled Egypt at one point. They built steeper pyramids.
Oh, interesting. Different rulers, different styles. Okay, but we can't talk Egypt without mentioning the superstar, the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's huge.
Oh, it is massive. It was the largest pyramid in Egypt, one of the largest in the world, and it held the title of the tallest human-made structure for ages until the Lincoln Cathedral came along in the 14th century. And that base area, plus it's the last one standing of the seven wonders of the ancient world.
So impressive. And they always built them west of the Nile, right?
Yep, always west. That was symbolic, connecting the pharaoh's soul with the setting sun. By 2008, archaeologists had found roughly 135 pyramids in Egypt, mainly around Cairo.
Okay, deep divers, get this. Egypt isn't the pyramid king when it comes to numbers. That title actually goes to Sudan.
That's right, Sudan has a whopping 220 pyramids still standing.
220, no way. What's the deal with those?
They're known as Nubian pyramids, and they were built as tombs for Napata and Meroe's royalty. There are about 240 of them in total, spread across 3 sites.
Wow, that is a lot of pyramids. Are they like mini versions of the Egyptian ones?
They're a bit different. They're known for their steeper sides, and they were built later, even as late as 200 AD.
So pyramids with a twist. Okay, let's shift gears and head over to the Sahel region of Africa. Specifically Mali, there's a special one there, right?
You're thinking of the tomb of Askia in Gao, and this one's unique.
How so?
It's a prime example of monumental mud building. Like, they took mud architecture to a whole new level. It's thought to be the burial place of Askia Muhammad I from the Songhai Empire, late 15th century, and now it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's not just a pyramid either. The whole complex includes mosques, a cemetery, and a gathering area.
Mud brick wonder. And it's super tall, right?
At 17 meters high, it's the biggest pre-colonial building in Gao, and it perfectly represents the Sudano-Sahelian architectural style.
Okay, so we've seen stone pyramids, we've seen mud brick. What else is out there?
Our research points to something even more unexpected. Mud pyramids in Nigeria built by the Igbo culture. And there are 10 of them.
Mud pyramids in Nigeria. I've never even heard of these. Tell me more.
They're circular, stacked structures. The first section is about 60 feet around and 3 feet tall. Then the stacks get smaller as you go up. What's really interesting is they weren't tombs.
So what were they for?
They were temples for the god Allah. There was a stick on top representing his home. They're laid out in 2 groups of 5, which seems super intentional.
So more of a spiritual vibe than a burial one. But being mud, I bet they needed constant upkeep, right?
Exactly, like the Dafufa in Nubia, these Nigerian pyramids needed regular rebuilding because of the materials. It's the price you pay for that earthy aesthetic.
All right, let's sail across the Mediterranean and head over to Europe. Did ancient Greece get in on the pyramid action?
Well, there are some mentions by Pausanias, a 2nd century AD writer. He talked about 2 pyramid-shaped buildings, one a mass grave for soldiers and the other a monument for some fallen Argives.
So pyramids for the fallen.
Exactly, but neither of them survived, and there's no proof they looked anything like the Egyptian ones.
Okay, so more like pyramid-shaped memorials. What about those structures at Hellenikon and Lycuria? They're still around, right?
Yep, they've got those inward sloping walls, but that's about where the Egyptian similarities end.
How so?
They've got big central rooms, unlike Egyptian pyramids, which were often solid inside. And the one at Hellenikon, it's rectangular. Plus, they're built with local limestone, but the stones were cut to fit, not freestanding blocks.
So different building methods. And I vaguely remember something about those Greek pyramids being linked to the Black Athena theory.
Ah.
For those who don't know, that theory kind of challenged the traditional narrative about ancient Greece, suggesting influences from Africa and the Near East.
Exactly.
So how do pyramids fit into all of that?
Well, archaeologists tried to date these structures using stuff like pottery shards and stone flakes.
Okay, like dating by trash.
Right. And some of those early dates, they were surprisingly old, which, of course, fed into the whole Black Athena debate about timelines and influences.
So pyramids as potential evidence of cultural exchange. Interesting. But I bet not everyone agreed with those dates.
Oh, absolutely not. You had scholars like Mary Lefkowitz who weren't convinced by the dating methods and pointed out potential biases in the interpretation. She even said some of the structures included in that research weren't even pyramids.
The plot thickens. But other researchers, like Lauritzis, stuck by those dating methods, right?
Totally. It was and still is a pretty hot topic.
Okay, let's jump over to Spain now. Specifically the Canary Islands. They've got pyramids too, right?
You're thinking of the pyramids of Gumar in Tenerife. They're 6 rectangular terrace structures made of lava stone, no mortar.
Terraced, so more like steps than a smooth slope.
Exactly.
Those must be ancient.
Actually, our sources say they're much more recent than you might think. We're talking 19th century. And they're probably a side effect of farming. Farmers would clear fields and pile up rocks, and those piles eventually formed these stepped pyramids.
So accidental pyramids. That's kind of funny.
It is, but there's also local Guanche lore and some old pictures that suggest similar structures called moras and other names used to exist all over the island. They just got taken apart for building materials.
Makes sense. Okay, what about the Romans? They were obsessed with Egypt at one point, weren't they?
Oh, big time. And they built pyramids too. The most famous one that's still standing is the Pyramid of Cestius in Rome. It's 27 meters tall and was built in the late 1st century BC.
So the Romans getting in on the pyramid trend.
They even had another one, the Meta Romuli, but it got destroyed in the 15th century, which is a bummer. That Pyramid of Cestus, though, total testament to their Egyptian obsession back in the day.
I could just imagine them saying, if you can't beat them, build them.
Right. And get this, even in medieval Europe, some folks dabbled in pyramid designs for their churches.
Seriously. In medieval churches.
Yeah, like the Tower of Oviedo's Gothic cathedral. Who knew?
That's wild. It seems like the pyramid just keeps popping up in unexpected places.
It really does.
Okay, ready for another continent jump. Let's talk about the Americas. Did they have their own pyramid game going on?
Oh, absolutely. In Peru, the Andean cultures were building pyramids around the same time as the Egyptians. Places like Caral, Tucumay, and Chavin de Quantar.
So parallel pyramid development.
Looks like it. But when you get to Mesoamerica, things get really interesting.
Mesoamerica. So we're talking Mayan pyramids, Aztec pyramids, all that jazz.
Exactly. And these were different. They were mostly stepped pyramids with temples on top, kind of like those ziggurats in Mesopotamia.
Oh yeah, like giant staircases to the heavens.
Right, and some of them were massive. Take the Great Pyramid of Cholula in Mexico. It's the biggest pyramid in the world by volume. And it wasn't built overnight. Construction went on for centuries, from the 3rd century BC to the 9th century AD.
Centuries. That's dedication.
It really is. And then you have the Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan, the 3rd largest in the world. These were feats of engineering and showed how organized these societies were.
But not all Mesoamerican pyramids were those classic step pyramids, were they? I remember reading about some weirder ones.
Oh, yeah, totally. You had the circular pyramid at Quiquihuilco in Mexico City and those super unique circular stepped pyramids at Guachimontones in Jalisco.
Pyramids, round edition.
Exactly. But there's a darker side to some Mesoamerican periods.
Oh no, what do you mean?
Our sources talk about human sacrifice. Like when they dedicated the Great Pyramid of Tenochtitlan in 1487, the numbers are all over the place, but some say tens of thousands were sacrificed.
Oh wow, that's pretty intense. A reminder that not all pyramids were about peace and harmony. Okay, let's head north to the United States. Were there pyramids hiding up there too?
You bet, but not the kind you'd picture. They're called platform mounds. Basically, big earthen pyramids built by Native Americans before Columbus arrived.
Earth pyramids. Never heard of those.
They were a big deal. The most famous one is Monk's Mound at Cahokia in Illinois, finished around 1100 AD. And its base, it's actually bigger than the Great Pyramid.
Wow, bigger's better. What do they use these mounds for?
Our research says they had a ton of uses. Platforms for chiefs' houses, temples, burial sites, places to store the dead, and even dance floors. Imagine that, a pyramid dance party.
That's awesome. So they were like multi-purpose community centers?
Exactly. Cultures like the Troyville, Coles Creek, Plaquemine, and Mississippian were all about these substructure mounds, and they love to add on to them over time.
Generations of pyramid builders. Okay, ready for our final continent, Asia. Did they have their own pyramid game going on?
Oh, they did. China is home to tons of those square, flat-topped mounds that were used as tombs. The tomb of the first emperor, Qin Shi Huang, is a great example. It was built around 221 BC. And then the Han Dynasty, they were all about those earthen pyramids for their royal burials, too.
So pyramids fit for an emperor. Flat top, though.
Yeah, that's their signature style.
Interesting. What about India? Any pyramids over there?
South India was pyramid central, especially during the Chola Empire. They built all these incredible granite temple pyramids.
Granite pyramids, that's fancy.
Right, and many of them are still used for worship today. It's crazy. The Brihadiswara temple at Thanjavur, the Gangakonda Cholapuram, and the biggest temple complex by area, the Ranganathaswamy temple in Srirangam, all fantastic examples. The Brihadiswara temple even became a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1987, and the other Chola temples joined the club in 2004.
Wow. From ancient tombs to active places of worship, that's incredible. What about Indonesia? Were they into pyramids too?
Oh yeah, Indonesia had its own unique pyramid style going on. The Austronesian megalithic culture built these earth and stone stepped pyramids called Pundin Berundak. basically terraced mounds. They believed that mountains were where the ancestral spirits hung out, so these pyramids were like their way of connecting with them.
Spiritual pyramids, very cool.
Right, and there are some awesome examples at places like Penguanam and Sapari. Plus, there's the famous Borobudur Buddhist monument in Java from the 8th century.
Borobudur, now that's a name I recognize. It's a massive temple complex, right?
Exactly, and it's got a step pyramid design. Later on, Japanese temples were more influenced by those tall Indian Hindu spires, but then in the 15th century, they kind of went back to their roots with temples like Suku, which looks a lot like those Mesoamerican pyramids. You also find stepped pyramids on Mount Penugungan.
So a blend of influences and a return to tradition. And our sources mention some pyramidal stupas in East Asia, Southeast Asia, and Central Asia.
Yep, though Buddhist stupas usually turned into those tall pagodas to see today, a few of those older pyramidal stupas are still around. There's a theory that Borobudur actually inspired them, thanks to those traveling Sumatran and Japanese monks. They even found a similar Buddhist monument over in Rang, Tajikistan.
Monks spreading the pyramid love.
Exactly. There are at least 9 of these Buddhist step pyramids left, scattered across Korea, Japan, Indonesia, and Tajikistan.
Who knew? So pyramids aren't just in ancient history books. What about modern times? Are we still building pyramids today?
We are, and not just as tourist attractions, but for all sorts of purposes.
Like what? Spill the beans.
Well, there's the Louvre Museum entrance in Paris, that iconic glass pyramid. Then you've got the Luxor Hotel in Vegas, the Transamerica Pyramid office building in San Francisco, and the Stockport Pyramid office building in the UK.
Pyramids. Office edition. I love it.
There are malls like the Sunway Pyramid in Malaysia, university buildings like the Walter Pyramid in California.
And pyramid power.
Right, even some unfinished projects like the Ryugyong Hotel in North Korea, which was supposed to be a massive pyramid-shaped hotel.
Ambitious.
And, of course, people still use them as mausoleums. There's Quintino Sella's tomb in Italy, and even Nicolas Cage's pyramid-shaped tomb in New Orleans.
Nicolas Cage has a pyramid tomb. Now that's a story for another deep dive.
Totally. There are even some just-for-fun pyramids like the Balindian Pyramid in Australia and city landmarks like the Karlsruhe Pyramid in Germany. The possibilities are endless.
So even today, the pyramid still inspires architects. Well, deep divers, it seems like pyramids are way more than just ancient Egyptian tombs.
That's an understatement.
We've seen them all over the world, built by so many different cultures and for all kinds of reasons, from those ancient Mesopotamian ziggurats to those incredible granite temple pyramids in India, and even those quirky modern pyramids we see today.
It's amazing how this one shape has transcended time and culture.
It really is. So here's a question for you deep divers to ponder. Why do you think the pyramid shape is so popular? Is it about reaching for the sky, honoring the past, or maybe just making a statement? Let us know your thoughts. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Until next time.